G'day, legends, and welcome to the Pot Noodle on Celtic Down Under. I'm your host, Jared, and joining me tonight are Shane and John. How you going, Johnny?
I'm doing good. I decided not to do Movember this year. I don't think I could handle those Ron Jeremy comments anymore. So kept the
Boo.
beard this year. I know. What a whim.
Yeah, fair enough. How you going, Shane?
Yeah, good. Thanks, mate. Another weekend full of sport for me. So I got out to a couple of football matches. Got to see both victory men's and women's team. Women didn't get the result, but the men won a game which they didn't really play well in. So that was decent. Then got out to the basketball on Sunday and got to see a win there. So feeling pretty pumped.
Most important thing, Shane, did you see the highlights of the Women's A-League game? I think it was Canberra versus someone. One of the players' dogs was on the pitch.
Yeah.
Absolute peak A-League. If you haven't seen it, go look it up on Twitter. It's absolutely unbelievable.
Yep. Peak A-League moment number 1067, I reckon we're up to now.
Something like that in what, season 20? It's brilliant. But anyway, thanks everyone for tuning in to the Pot Noodle as usual. Appreciate it. See, we've got quite a few comments there already. So we'll put them up to start off with. So McLaughlin starts off with his kangaroos as per usual. Smell the glove. You're a man after my heart with this, quoting some Alf Stewart. G'day, you flaming glass. Absolute legend. And then we got a few others. So from Sean saying good morning. Got to fix that thing so our pictures don't go funny buggers when we're talking here. I learned how to do that last week. So, yeah, what we'll do is we'll just roll through the pod. Could be a quick one because there's not too much to talk about here. So what we're going to do is we're going to review the game against Killy. A couple of things to talk about. We've got a topic that was sent through from a listener from RL77, sent something through to me before. So we'll bring that up and have a quick little chuckle at that. Then we're going to do some hot takes. So at the start of the year, we do our fearless predictions. So what we've decided for the hot takes is we're just going to go for 2 or 3 hot takes. Can be related to one. I said I want to do one Celtic related, one Scottish football related, and a general one about anything. So if you've got any hot takes as well, chuck them in the comments. We'll bring them up at random points. It's going to be fun. Have a bit of a laugh, and then we'll finish off and have a break until Celtic's back playing in a week and a bit. So, yeah, the plan of attack is pretty simple. Celtic 2, Kilmarnock 0 on that absolute garbage plastic pitch. And as you can see, the episode name, deaths, taxes, and Derek McInnes having a whinging after, losing to Celtic again, pretty much sums it up. It was guaranteed to happen. So, starting lineups, I was thinking there was going to be more rotation than there was after playing midweek. So, Kasper Schmeichel in goals. The only change in the back line from midweek was Cameron Carter-Vickers out, Liam Scales in. Middle of the park was pretty much the same midfield from midweek, which was McGregor, Hatate, and Engels. And up front, Kyogo out, Ida in, and then Kun and Maida kept their spots. So it's only 2 changes from midweek. I thought we're probably looking at 4 or 5 on last Thursday's pod. So, all things considered, Shane, anything that surprised you in that starting lineup?
I was similar to yourself. I probably expected more than 2, but I'm not sure I would have gone up to 5. I was surprised we didn't make any changes in midfield. I actually thought maybe Engels would get a spot on the bench and McCowan would come in. And up top, it's hard to drop Maeda and Kun with the form they're in. Not drop necessarily, but rest them. And they're so vital to what we do, and particularly when we generate things in our front third. So, yeah, I probably landed on 3. I could understand Carter-Vickers, I could understand Kyogo, and I thought maybe Engels might have had a bit of a breather. But apart from that, I think everything else I was pretty much locked on that they'd be picked.
And Johnny, what was your thoughts?
I'm much the same. So I would have probably, on reflection, I would have assumed maybe 3, maybe more. But I guess the reason why we probably haven't is because the league is that tight that we need to maintain momentum. We need that momentum in the league. We need the same guys who we know are flying high. They've gelled well. change that too much might jeopardise. Like I know it's Aberdeen, it's early days, but 1 point and all of a sudden the pressure's on us. So yeah, I think much like Shane, I would have probably gone 3, maybe 4, and maybe no more than 5 as Shane said. So yeah, surprising, but also like I get it.
Yeah, for me, I'm just looking at it going, I said Calmac stay in, even though I thought I would have loved to have seen McGowan get a start. But I was like, well, McGregor's not playing for Scotland anymore, so he'll get his break over the international. He'll get his rest over the international break. Realistically, Kun won't be isn't an international. So looking at our lineup, how many of these guys are international players? Schmeichel will be away. Johnson, Trusty, Scales will be away with international. Was Taylor called up? More than likely, is there or thereabouts. Engels, Hatate, Ida, and Maeda. So the only ones there that's not really getting called up are Kun and McGregor. One's retired from international football, the other one hasn't. So that's why I thought there'd be a bit more rotation. But I understand what you're saying there, boys, about the whole Aberdeen's close and you get it there, so it makes sense. No matter what we did, we were okay. So, yeah, I thought that was an interesting one. Looking at the stats for the game, I'm not a massive stat head, but it's very rare that we have less shots than an opponent in a Scottish game. Like, we had 10 shots, 6 on target. They had 18 shots, 6 on target. But then we smashed them in the possession stats and all the other stuff. So, yeah, I just thought I was a bit of a weird one that jumped off the page for me. So, Shane, I want to get your thought on the just a general chat about the first half.
Well, I'll tie in the discussion about the lack of rotations with the first half commentary. And one of the things that I think might have actually lent Brendan to not make as many changes and bring in players like McCowan and potentially Yang and Via was purely the physical nature that Killy actually put out on the park and actually presented to us. And right from the first whistle, it was a typical kind of Derek McInnes managed team against us. They were at us. They went man on man. They really pressured us. They were physical. They were getting stuck in. I think they were going, crossing the line a little bit, to be honest with you. And I think I'm being pretty generous in that description. I thought really we struggled to get any kind of rhythm in that first half at all. I think it was a mixture of how physical they were being and the way they were playing against us, and also a combination of that pitch, which we've talked about as ad nauseum on this podcast before. But I really felt we didn't really kind of get any control of the game in that first sort of quarter of an hour. And then from that point, I think we started to get a little bit of a foothold in particular, that first 25 minutes. I thought our midfield were very much just getting on those second balls after we cleared when Killy went forward, but that was it. And very rarely were they able to get on the ball and turn and go forward with the ball and pace. And I thought just generally, in all honesty, they put us under pressure and they had the best chance in the first half. It wasn't until that sort of just before half time that we actually got that goal to go ahead, which I think is really important.
Johnny, what was your thoughts on the first half?
Yeah, I mean, my thoughts probably echoed Shane's quite a lot. To be honest, I thought the momentum really wasn't there. I guess I probably pegged it down to just maybe fatigue to come away from that type of European win to then come away to Kilmarnock. Yeah, all right, shitty pitch, but we've been here before, right? I think there were some players were really off it. In the first half, Hatate wasn't quite there. Some of his passes were. He was trying to do too much. I think in some of the times he was giving the ball away when all he needed was a simple pass, and I'm not sure why he's gone from absolutely exceptional in Europe to giving away really silly possession in a domestic game. And I can only say that was either fatigue, lack of concentration, maybe just a bit of arrogance. And we beat them and rightly so. But I think let's just not jeopardise possession stats, which is obviously big part of our game. I still think Engels is not quite there yet, so I think he didn't really have much of a flow in the first half. But I think overall, I think we had our chances. I think we probably should have buried a few, but so could they. So could they. They absolutely had their chances in the first half. And I think the first major chance they had was one that hit the post. I think there was a couple that might have like skewed to the side maybe, but not really threatening. And that first one, I think that really kind of shook things up a bit. It waked us up slightly. So yeah, first half I think overall actually we were a little bit a bit of a deflated performance, but still, the fact that we weren't exactly up to the speed that we expected, or even what we've recently witnessed, going away with a goal in the first half was just, and then obviously the win. It's just exactly what it takes to win a league, to be honest.
I don't know, Johnny, if it was the first half was that like ordinary, or if it was because I was half asleep. So
Yeah.
that's the thing for me. 2 a.m. kickoffs for us over here aren't ideal. So
No.
yeah, I just thought you knew it was going to be a step down after playing midweek in the Champions League, especially with a big result at home, to then have to go play on plastic where they're not going to water it. It's going to be, you know, I don't know. Don't want to say what I was going to say there. But you know, a really dry pitch there, and yeah, it's just one of those things where, and then their tactics where they just come out and they try to either win the ball or rugby tackle you. It was always going to be a tough game, and I think when we refer back to that lineup, Engels, he struggled, but I think he struggled because when has he seen something like a Kilmarnock pitch in a professional environment? Let's be honest, he's been playing in Holland, he's been playing in Germany. He hasn't been playing on plastic pitches down in Ayrshire. Like, it's something completely different for him. And then you look at Casper, like he looked like in the first half in particular, he was struggling with his footing when they were coming up at us, and he's just trying to clear the ball. And because they went man to man, he had to hit on longer. He just looked unsure of his footing in that first half in particular. So I think the pitch had a lot more to do with it than our actual players. And like Engels, yeah, some of us are saying he's struggling, but at the same point last year, we were all saying the same about Kun. I'm not going to forget about that. Everyone was saying at the end of last season, after 3-4 months at the club, oh, Kun's struggling, that's another project, sign him. I know that Engels is one of our club record signing, and he's come straight in, but he's a different player to the guy who went out in O'Reilly, and it's going to take him time to settle in. It's the first time I'm seeing everything. The reason McGowan's jumped straight in and knows it is because he knows the league. He's played in all these venues before. He understands it. So it's all part of the learning process for him. So I'm not going to be too hard on some of these guys. But what I'll do is I'll bring up some comments and then we'll get through it. So John Clements said, big physical team on a plastic pitch that was dry as a bone. Flooding the midfield made this a tough watch. Bottom line, 3 points, back up the road. Thanks, Casper. Casper, you know the XG thing? He saved an XG of 1.8 goals in that game. So realistically, we were 2-0 up. He conceded, basically, if you round that up, he conceded 2, game over. Heavy Vibes was saying 3 couldn'ts. Ida couldn't control the ball. Engels couldn't get to the ball, and Hatade couldn't do diddly squat with the ball. McLaughlin is saying our game tempo is severely upset when Kyogo doesn't start a game. That was a game on a pitch that wasn't set up for Kyogo, though, in my opinion. You know, Derek McInnes is going to come out and throw his hammer throwers at you. So you got to get a bit of size out there. So especially with Kyogo's shoulder still bugging him a bit. So RL77, Kilmarnock are now keeping that abomination of a plastic pitch next season. They should be voted down the leagues or something. Definitely shouldn't be allowed. We'll talk about plastic pitches in particular and that topic later on in the pod.
Just a comment just before. In fact, I think I want to talk about Engels. I've seen enough from Engels to know that he'll be a player for us. Right
Sure.
now, maybe he's not at the level, or he had a few off games, but I definitely have seen enough there to know he's going to be something really special for us. So, and even midweek against Leipzig, maybe he wasn't at the level of his other midfield duo, if you want to call them that, the other two, but he was still pretty good. And yeah, he's going to be quality. The other thing I wanted to touch on was just the comment about Ida and the game not suiting Kyogo. And I think that's why Brendan initially picked Ida, because of that physicalness and that it was going to be sort of compact. But I actually think that played a little bit into Killy's hands. I think Ida was sort of condensing an area of the pitch that was already pretty heavily condensed and favoured Killy. I actually thought we looked a lot better when Kyogo came on, and he was sort of dragging the defenders back towards goal and creating a bit more space.
What I would have liked to see, Shane, is if you were going to start Kyogo, I would have loved to see a two up front. If they're going to play that way, Kyogo and Maeda up front, and just change our formation a little bit. So those two playing together, because that would put them in two minds. We've got one speed merchant here, we've got another one here, and then they can't key in on one particular player. I think that would have been the other play around. If you're going to start Kyogo, you've got to go like that. Andrew Galea's got a comment here. Rogers is making Hatate play longer minutes. That's good. We need to see that from him. It's part of his development.
Yeah.
The only reason he went off was because he was on a yellow. If he didn't pick up that yellow, he would have seen out the full 90.
Yep.
So, I agree with the Engels thing for sure. I think there is 100% a player there, and I think he'll be a big. I think he's got a big part to play in a Celtic team. I think it might not even be this season. He might have a very well-rounded stats type of season. Nothing amazingly special, and then next season I think you might see him absolutely fly in a similar fashion, maybe to a longer timescale, but to what Kuhn's been doing, as we've mentioned.
And O'Reilly did that before him, Johnny.
And, there's plenty of players at Celtic where that's happened. You need to. Most players need a little bit of adjustment time. There's a couple of players recently that might not have needed that, and absolutely, and lots of the Japanese players, in fact. But normally they need some time, right? So Kuhn needed a little bit of time. I think he needed 6 months to a year to really start flying, and now look at him, and maybe we'll see something with Engels the same, and give us some great results and performances.
Yep. So I'm just scrolling through the comments to see what else there is. Yeah, so Andrew was saying here there was no ball speed on that surface. Passes fall short. There's a whole bunch of people just giving it to McInnes in there, and I love it. I'm here for that. So
there was just a thought, right, about the speed of the pitch. I don't know why we don't do this, but I actually used to play hockey a lot in my school days, right? It was not exactly an exceptional hockey team, right? But there was 1 year we managed to get through to some sort of competition that none of us really gave a shit about, but we did it anyway. And when we turned up, it was water-based pitches. And we got thrashed because all of a sudden we weren't used to the speed of the ball, because on the water-based pitches it was absolutely rapid, unlike the conventional sand or whatever that plasticky pebble nonsense is. I don't know why it's the technology's there. It can't be that expensive to run a water. I mean, you get a wee bit soaked, but not exceptionally soaked. But surely that's something to be considered, is a water-based Astro. Keep the ball speed up.
I'm just going
to... Big slide-in tackles.
It worked perfect for Scottish football too, because,
freezing cold in that water. Yeah.
You'd be playing on ice, mate. It'd be a game of ice hockey before you know it.
That's a very, very good point.
So Maestro 95 was played 3 games in 8 days, lads. Fair play to the champions. McLaughlin filling up with 11 goals in those 3 games and conceded 1. Yeah, so it's a fair stint for the boys. What we'll do, first half goals, Shane. How funny was that? It was like the ball comes over the top, looks like it's going to Ida, and at first when I saw his reaction, I'm like, he didn't even touch that. And then you see Kilmarnock going on, and then you see the reverse angle, and I'm like, okay, cool. I did see that right.
Yeah, no, I was the same. I looked at it and thought, I don't think he's got anything on this. He might have got a stud just grazing it at the very least, but
no chance.
Most. But no, he was miles off
maybe
of
a shoelace.
it. But what I found interesting about that, and up until that point in the half, literally just before we went off, Killy had the best chances. Old Marley and me, Marley Watkins, he butchered the shot. He put it into the post, and even he had another couple of follow-ups, I think, and even Vassell, who I thought was doing a good job of occupying Trustees and Scales, had a couple of opportunities. They definitely had the best sort of gilt-edged chances. And we were talking before about how they were pressuring us, they were man on man, they were constantly at us. We didn't really have any time or space. The only time, and that was in particularly noticeable on Calmac, with Watson really pushing up on him constantly and man marking him to the nth degree. The only time they didn't do that was just before half time, where they all sat back trying to basically conserve to get to half time 0-0, and they sagged off, and all of a sudden Kun had space. He's able to find Calmac, who's got no Marco, who puts in a wonderful ball. It's a great ball. McCrory has no idea, and it's a good run because positioning from Eder as well. McCrory doesn't know whether to come out for or not. He's in two minds. And he doesn't know whether Eder's going to get a touch, and it's a wonderful goal. But I just thought it was ironic that they'd sagged off at that point, and we scored from it.
Yeah, it was a bit of an odd one. Maestro95 saying that goal reminded me of a game we played in Munich. He's sure it was Hedman was in goal that night. Probably saw that on the VHS tape back in the day. Robert, there he is. There it is. Where's that? Palmer, not even on the bench. Run out of hair gel and teeth whitening wing. Jeez, Robert, you love it. He'll be off in January, guaranteed.
Yeah. No, he's from what we were saying a couple of weeks ago, he's already aiming to leave as soon as he possibly can. I think agent talk and stuff.
I think he's too scared for another hibernation in cold Glasgow winter. Anyway, so Johnny, you want to give us your general thoughts about the second half?
I thought much of the same, to be honest. I thought we controlled it slightly better, but overall, I can't necessarily remember playing exceptionally well or something, that made me go, oh wow, this is such an improvement from the first half. I think my overall thoughts was we didn't quite play up to what we were used to recently, and obviously against Leipzig and stuff. But I think my general thoughts was just we managed to see out what was quite a tough game. The second half for me was much of the same with the first half. Maybe a slight improvement, but it well worked second goal and stuff. But
yeah, for me it was much of the same as you said. Second half, it wasn't a massive jump or rocket put up the boys at halftime by Brendan, and they ran out and responded and were all up and about. It was more of the same. The thing was we were one goal up, so they had to come and actually try to chase that, which meant that opened it up a little bit more for us. And then Alistair Johnson on that right side, ball over the top to Kun. Kun's like wrestling some guys, getting them off him. One touch, gets it into the box. Second touch is in the back of the net, and you're just like, how? How did you go that far with one touch to gather the ball, get it into a position where you can score? The boy's got class. That's the easiest way. He's just like seeping, like he's sweating out more talent than that whole Killy team has. That guy, he's just ridiculously good. And the fact of the matter is that he's like 10 goals and 11 assists already at this point of the season. Some player.
Yeah.
And if we had a Thursday sesh this week, Jared would be like absolutely waxing lyrical about him. So Shane, I'll go to you for your take on the second half, because me and Johnny gave it a little bit of what for there, but you'll probably go into a bit more detail.
I thought just after half time, And probably until the subs came on, and probably until we scored, that the game was actually pretty stretched. I thought Killy had a couple of chances. They were getting the ball in and around the box, forced Schmeichel into a couple of saves. But I thought the slight tweak that we made was that we tended to be getting the ball over the top a bit better in the second half than we were in the first. In the first, I thought we just didn't quite have the run of it, and we weren't getting the ball into the best areas, and we were sort of getting it into a part of the pitch that was already condensed, and I thought relatively easy for Killy to marshal us. In the second, I thought we were much better at getting the ball into space in our front third and getting those balls over the top of midfield, actually getting their defenders to defend and even turn and run towards goal. And that's when I saw the move of Kyogo come on as being really important, because then all of a sudden his movement was going to cause them to run back towards goal and just create that space we needed. And I thought it was a slight tweak, but it was a really important tweak. And you've already waxed lyrical about the goal. I won't go into any more detail other than I agree wholeheartedly with your summation and exactly the quality that Kun has. But at that point, even though Killy didn't necessarily stop with their physical approach, I felt the sting really went out of the game at that point when it went 2-0. And I didn't think they had a way back in, even though they had a couple of opportunities. It just felt like the game was in our keeping from there. And I want to echo something that Johnny said earlier, which was, we got a result when we didn't particularly play well. And that's what good teams do. That's what really good teams do. We've had, I can't remember the commenters, might have been Maestro commented before, we've had 3 games in 8 days or 11 days or something of that nature. There's naturally going to be a bit of fatigue. There's going to be fatigue. We're playing on a plastic pitch. There's all these reasons. And yet, despite all of that and a really physical team, we found a way to get a result and get that win. And that's what really good teams do.
100%. I'm going to bring up a couple of comments here. Maestro, when we're talking about the first goal here, he's saying Eder played his part in that goal yesterday, even though he never touched it.
Yep.
RL77, Bernabé's getting touted for a call-up for Brazil, even though he's Argentinian. Andrew Galea is saying lots of interest is coming for Kun. And Peglegs responded to that. There will be a serious bid for Kun in January, no doubt. The positive thing for us with Kun was we got him on a 5.5-year deal when we signed him. So even at the end of this season, he still has 4 years left. So we're going to get a fair chunk of change for him. But I don't see him leaving straight away. Like, let's be honest, he's only just come good. You get to January, we've still got a couple of Champions League games. Where we're sitting at the moment, we're up and about. We're a shot, not just for 9 through to 24. We've got 4 games. 3 of them are clearly winnable. You win those 3, that's 9 more points. That puts us on a 16. If you had 15 and above, 99% of the time you were finishing top 8 in all the simulations before it. So we're a shout for that still. Why would he want to leave? So yeah. I think if he does well, the whole season, wins Player of the Year, then come the summer next year, maybe. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. And there we go, Maestro saying the same. Kun will be here till the end of the season at least. Yeah, that's the thing. So what we'll do is, I always like to ask about the controversial moments. So there was a couple in this game. I think there was 2 or 3. So off the top of my head, should Donnelly have been sent off for elbowing Casper? Realistically, I think Sean gave a good summary of it on Axom's post-match, where he was saying there wasn't enough. He swung it, but he didn't contact him. If he had swung it at his head, it would have been a red because he swung it towards his body. Yellow card sufficient. That's when he got booked, wasn't it?
Yeah, he got booked for that.
Yeah. So for me, I think the yellow was sufficient there, but I don't like the look of that. But when I was a kid and we're playing the old FIFA 98 and FIFA 96 on the old PlayStation, the original PlayStation, right? That's how far back I'm going. I was used to love it. I'd be smashing my older brother. He was rubbish. So I'd be up like 12-0 or something, and then I'd be like, make this more fun. And every time his goalkeeper's got the ball, just go and tackle the keeper and get guys sent off all the time for doing similar stuff. So it reminded me of that. I haven't seen a player try to go a keeper like that in ages. And then to
For
see
fear of getting sent off.
and then seeing Casper, absolutely like he basically channeled his old man. You remember seeing Peter back in the day at Man United walking around, getting in Royce Keane's face, going "Argh," and full on like screaming at his own teammates and dragging them around and stuff. Let alone the opposition. It was like, oh, Casper does have that fire in him. It's good to see.
Yeah, I agree. I think a yellow was completely fair. To be honest, I don't think it was serious foul play.
I just look at it and go, imagine Derek McInnes if his player got sent off for that, and then Hatate didn't. How much worse he'd be whinging because, yeah. Jane, you were about to say something.
Yeah, I agree. Yellow all day long for that one. I didn't see it any more than that, but I wanted to echo your sentiments about Casper getting in his face. Donnelly gets away with a fair bit.
Scrub.
He absolutely goes in a number of times and gets away with it. It was good to see Schmeichel get in his face and basically tell him what for. Donnelly didn't like it really, from what I could tell. And I noticed the lack of Killy teammates getting around him as well. I thought that was quite interesting.
You know what I call him? He's a flat track bully, that guy. When the game's close or whatever, and he's got a chance to just try and level someone, he'll go and do it. But the funny thing that shocked me was that he actually went and did it to our biggest guy on the pitch, Schmeichel. But last year when we played him, he tried similar shit and he got a couple of bookings in a couple of games as well against us. So he's got prior form. That's why I say it. And last couple they were against smaller guys. So yeah.
Well, and it allowed Peter Grant, who I was watching the Celtic TV coverage, Peter Grant managed him at Fulham. It allowed Peter Grant to go into the story about how he basically went and punched a centre half of the other team one day. Like, just went and flat out punched some guy.
There you go. RL77, Donnelly is a dirty bastard. Happy days.
In the words of Peter Grant, he said he's a good lad, but he's got the red mist. So
fair enough. And then the Hatate one. So studs were up, but he was pulling out of it. So as far as I'm concerned, yellow's fine. If it was one of their players, I'd probably be screaming it should have been a red. I'm being honest. The green tinted specs and everything, but yeah, I don't think it would have been really unfortunate to have got a red for that. So Andrew's saying Hatate was pulling out of his tackle. Johnny, what are you thinking?
Yeah, look, I think he's lucky, to be honest. I'm hardly going to say he deserved a red, am I? But I think it is one of those ones where different day. I think it's obvious he was put out of his tackle, but that doesn't negate necessarily serious foul play. Not all the time. I think in this scenario, I think what he got was enough. To be fair.
In the words of Chris Boyd, all day. You flog.
Look, honestly, you could have had another ref on a different day or another VAR check or something where it just, yeah, it was. I think he was slightly lucky, but I would have been pretty outraged if it was a red, to be honest.
It's that same sort of vibe, sort of thing that last year when Yang got the red card, and he had his boot up high and his studs were exposed. It was the same sort of contact for me, in that. Yeah, his studs were up, but there was minimal, or there wasn't any excessive force. It was minimal. So, or negligible, however you say that bloody word.
Negligible. I'll put my neck out on the line here. I think that Yang challenge,
the makeup,
definitely a red card. I think that was a red card every single day of the week. Karate kick some dude in the face.
The guy ran into his foot. What's he supposed to do? Cut his foot off? It's not Yang's fault the guy Shane's height ran into his foot. It's like Shane running into you, Johnny, when you've got your foot up.
Gee, I wish I was that tall. Come on.
I wish I could get my leg up that height.
What are you saying? What are you going to hit me with? I don't want to. You know what? I don't want
to know. Yeah, but Shane, you got anything to add?
When I saw it in real time, I thought he was off, and I thought if Nick Walsh didn't send him off, that VAR was going to step in. But then when you watch the replays, it all comes down to excessive force. And he's really trying to pull out of that. And I know the studs are showing. And normally, if your studs are up and on the leg, that's pretty much a fait accompli. But there was no excessive force there. So I think they actually did make the right call in the end. But I could definitely understand why some people felt aggrieved by it, because I've seen those given. But I thought they made the correct ruling based on everything with that tackle.
Yep. So usually we go player focus. I think we pretty much touched on the majority of it already. So I'm just going to ask you straight up, how much do you think the plastic pitch affected our players in that game? Like, I'm not making excuses. For me, I think it was a massive factor, as I said earlier in the pod. I think plastic pitches need to be removed from Scottish football. And when that news came through that clubs were going to be having to do that by the end of this season, it was great. If Killy can't afford to do it because they want to spend their money on their academy, then how about they don't just give us one stand and raise the money that way to be able to do both? Because as far as I'm concerned, you reap what you sow, Killy. And if you're too poor to get rid of your plastic pitch, then your academy can be delayed a year. Johnny, got any thoughts on the plastic pitch?
I agree with the sentiment that plastic pitches need to absolutely go. I have often thought, how much can it really affect a team? Because surely to Christ, they train on Astro as well. Like, surely Celtic has Astro surfaces for other types of training. So would you not just rotate your training onto Astro to get teams up to speed? But look, I'm sure there's balances of like, well, if you do that, you have to get back used to grass. I don't know, right? So I'm not sure how much it does, but I think from the evidence of how Celtic players actually perform on plastic pitches, it obviously does, right? Like we can obviously see that whenever we go on a plastic pitch, our performances dip. I struggle to see plastic pitches leaving Scottish football for like properly, not just in the top flight, but like properly leaving Scottish football for the foreseeable. And I just think that if a team were eventually to go up the ladder and then, or even get into the top flight and stuff, and they've got a plastic pitch, they probably can't afford themselves to change it. It's not like a Killy that's had it for ages that can probably afford it, but they can't probably afford to change it. To then expect them to do it, and then they're more likely to drop back down if they were to spend money on a plastic, on getting grass pitches to the plastic, and then not reinvesting in their team. Like, they're more likely to drop. So I just see there's probably a caliber of Scottish teams on plastic pitches that might come in and out, and we'll never really see them gone like properly, but maybe just like top flight teams. Because I think that's what it's saying now, right? Like, it's all plastic pitches have to be banned from at the moment from top flight, right? So like, if you're in the top flight, you're banned, So it's not banning it from the teams below and stuff. So yeah, I think it's here for the long haul, but it clearly affects us.
So what McLaughlin's saying, Johnny, is that the AstroTurf Celtic have is as good as grass, though. And what these teams are using is primary school stuff.
Yeah, so it looks like it.
And then Andrew's saying, how old is the Killy pitch? So it's all this old, hard plastic. Now, I'll give you an analogy of what happened over here in the AFL, because I was working at the stadium when it happened. So when the old Telstra Dome came in, Colonial Stadium, it was initially called, then became Telstra Dome, which is now Marvel Stadium, right? When that came in, it has a car park built underneath, like 4-layer car park. Then there's a depth of about 6 or 7 meters, and then there's concrete. So you got the turf, 6-7 meters, concrete. The first 5 years of that stadium being in existence, the players had, I think the stats were 70% higher chance of doing a hamstring or tearing their ACL on that field compared to every other field in the league, because the other ones were all traditional grass. The impact, because when you're pushing on the grass, it's not going down and there's no way for the energy to go. So there's only so much weight that can come out of you before your body tears something or does an injury. Plastic pitches are similar in that they're on a hard base on top of something, and there's only so much given them. When if you're playing on grass, the grass and the mud underneath it and everything will cushion and take a lot of the impact out if you come down from a high level, or say in AFL you're jumping up a meter in the air, grabbing the ball, your arms are 3 meters in the air, you come down, you land on the ground, there's a fair bit of impact. Now, if you jump for a header and you come down and land on your shoulder or in your head or something like that, and you come down on soft grass with soft mud underneath it, or you come down on a plastic pitch that looks like it's about 10 years old with hard plastic and very little rubber, very little give underneath it, it's going to be more chance of an injury. So for the health and safety reasons for the players, that thing needs to go. I don't care about anything. Now, what they did with the AFL was they ended up getting new greenskeepers in and figured out a way to aerate the dirt underneath and keep it soft, and they figured it all out at the stadium. But it took them about 5 years, and it cost them about 20 million to figure this out and make the adjustments to the stadium. Different levels of money and stuff over there, obviously, but plastic pitches are an absolute joke.
If it like, this is mad, right? I'm just thinking out of the benefit of Celtic. Would you object to if it costs 4 million for Kilmarnock or and others to replace their plastic pitches for Celtic to put that money up? Would you object to that?
How much are we getting from Champions League?
Yeah.
It's free money at the end of the day. We're doing well in Champions League. We've got copious amounts in the bank. For me, I'd be like, okay, if it's going to cost, I think the talk was for Livy to get rid of their pitch and relay it was going to cost them about 300 grand. For Killy to get rid of theirs was about 500 grand. It's for the two of them to be replaced, which are the two most likely to get into the top flight. Guess what? It's less than we paid for McGowan. I'd be happy for us to pay it.
Like, there's a principle behind it, right? Which is we shouldn't be paying for it. But I guess if it benefits our own players by not having injuries and performing better, then also they have to accept your money as well. They can also tell you to get fucked. But
And it's Pegleg saying no, the freeloaders can pay their own pitches.
yeah, yeah, well, yeah.
And the smell of the glove is saying, I wouldn't give Killy the flu, let alone the money.
But would they actually accept the money from us to replace it?
Probably not.
That's the other thing here we're talking about. We would actually go out of our way to fund it, but would they accept it? There's no doubt that they get an advantage from playing on that pitch because other teams like us are kind of brought down to that level.
Absolutely.
Now, yeah.
Let's be honest, Shane. If there's 3 clubs in the league that if we offered to give them any money for anything, they would refuse to because they don't want to be labelled as soup takers by anyone. Killy, Hearts, and the Huns. So if we went to any of those 3 and they were desperate for cash and we said to them, look, we can help you out, but this is the condition that we want. Like, here's your 500 grand that you need. Rip your plastic pitch up, get your grass one in, let's do it properly. They'd be like, nah, we don't want to have our hand out.
Yeah, but even then, just I know the handout stuff, but even just the advantage they get from, as I said, playing teams like us on that pitch with them, which they're more familiar with week in, week out. And to answer the question you started with, I thought it did have an impact on the way we played. And I noticed it much more in the second half than the first half, to be honest, when we started to play with a bit more pace and tried to move the ball a bit quicker and play at a bit more of a higher tempo, maybe matching more of the tempo we do. You could just see the misplaced passes. They were bobbling. They weren't reaching their intended target. There was one moment where Engels got absolutely clattered in a tackle in the middle of the park. Ball had been played to him. He was waiting for it to settle before he could actually get control of it and play it. And that delay caused him to get absolutely clattered from behind. Now, if that's anywhere else on a grass pitch, he's got that ball under control and he's already sprayed it out to Kun, but before that bobble even happens. Like, it definitely had an impact. I'm not trying to use it, as you said, as an excuse, but it had an impact on the way we played and therefore the way that the actual game panned out. But I don't think they'd ever change it because of the advantage they get. The only way I see it changing is with an actual league, the league stepping in and saying, well, guess what? You need to do it. Too bad.
Which is what they did, and then they've decided to push it down the road another 12 months because they want to fix up their facilities at their academy. But anyway, we'll leave the talk about the game there. Just going to ask you boys one last thing. Who was your man of the match? For me, it was Casper.
Yeah, Probably Casper for me too.
I thought Kuhn had played exceptional yet again, to be honest. I think, what was it, a goal and an assist?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought he played exceptional, so he'd be my man of the match.
Fair enough. I just wanted to share the love around, you know. I expected one of you to say Kun, so I was like, I'll go somewhere else.
Yeah.
So
Casper did play well, though. He did play very well.
I have a question for you, boys. I try to keep the political stuff off this podcast.
Oh, I noticed.
But I'm going to say something, and it's going to be a bit of a... It's one that was sent through from RL77. Australian football legend Craig Foster sparks a storm after turning down barbecue with King Charles. So when him and the Horseface were down here last month, there was a barbecue, New South Wales Premier's community barbecue. Craig Foster was sent an official invitation to the event, and he turned it down. And the reason was the best. It was, I look forward to being in the presence of our first Aussie head of state when we put our big pants on as a country. So for those who don't know, Craig Foster, since he retired, he's been involved in a lot of social issues, including the environment and human rights. He was also the chair of the Australian Republican movement. So RL77 sent this through to me, asked the question, should we be trying to get Craig Foster over to Celtic Park to draw the Paradise Windfall at some point? I think we absolutely should. And Celtic Down Under should be in the driving force to promoting that and pushing forward and bringing it up every now and then. What do you think, Shane?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Make it happen. I'm happy to be part of this this drive, whatever you want to call it, this wave. Look, in all seriousness, Craig Foster's a tremendous human being. He's a wonderful football pundit, but more than that, he's a wonderful individual, and he's a great humanitarian, and he believes in a lot of important causes that help better the lives of everybody, and those in lower socioeconomic spaces. And yeah, he's just got a tremendous heart. That's the best way I can describe him. And I wholeheartedly support him turning down that invitation. I would have done exactly the same if I was in his shoes. And I too look forward to us having our own head of state one day. It can't come soon enough.
So as I've said in numerous pods and in the past, many chats, in my lifetime, I want to see United Ireland, I want to see a free Scotland, and I want to see a free Australia. That's the dream. So anyway, Smell the Glove is, well done, Craig Foster, whoever he is. Tam is saying, buy that man a beer. Andrew Galea is, good on him. We should be a republic without the Union Jack on our flag. It's embarrassing. Get rid of that butcher's apron. And then, yeah, we've got Peg Leg saying advance Australia. So, yeah, well, I think we'll leave that there unless Johnny's got something to jump on.
Nah,
I just wanted to do it.
It's an Australian space, I think, for you to share sentiment. I'll keep my English accent very quiet.
Yeah, pipe down, Toots. Brilliant. So, yeah.
No, we can't skip past. I want to hear Johnny say that he wants an Australian head of state with that British accent.
I fucking do. 100%. Yeah.
Sorry to put you on the spot like that.
As long as it's not elbow, that's all I got to say.
Yeah.
Like, Australian teams playing green and yellow, yet have the Union Jack in their flag. Yeah, the green and yellow is because of our native flora and fauna thing known as the wattle. That's where the green and gold comes from. So, you go, Smell the Glove. Random non-Celtic question. I know you guys are Melbourne-based. He rumours Series 3 Last King of the Cross coming.
Yes, there is actually. I'm pretty sure I overheard this the other day that there is a Series 3 coming. I don't know what series is coming out just now. Maybe that's Series 2, but I'm pretty sure they're doing Series 3 as well. So I don't have it at all, but I'm pretty sure it's happening.
There'll always be, some sort of King's Cross stories coming out, but yeah, I don't know too much about that show. I watched it, but I'm like, yeah, it was ages ago. Johnny, you're copping it in the comments now.
I see it.
There we
I don't
go.
give a shit. Keep it going.
So we're going to do, to finish off the pod, normally we'll have our final thoughts, which we'll still do. But what I wanted to do, I mentioned earlier on about the hot takes. So it's just going to be random 3 hot takes, can be anything, but about one has to be Celtic related, can be anything. One can be Scottish football related, one can be general about anything. So we're just going to do this. It's like a play off our fearless predictions. We'll just do it for a bit of a laugh and, because why not? And then we'll finish the pod off with our final thoughts. So, do any of you boys want to go with your hot takes, or do you want me to start off with the Celtic related one? Jane looks nervous. I'll go first then. So, my Celtic related one is, as I said earlier in the pod, we're going to pick up those 9 points. We're going to be a chance. So, what I said for the Champions League is Celtic are going to finish 10th on the Champions League ladder after all the games are played. We will only miss out on the top 8 because of goal difference. Like, the teams that is in 8th is going to have a higher goal difference than us. That's the only reason I said we'll miss out. Shane, you got a hot take?
Yeah, it's not that hot. Really, of all the 3, the Celtic one's the one that I couldn't really muster too much on. I guess I'm just not that controversial.
You pussy. Get on with it.
I did. I had a few and then I chickened out. But I've got one and I don't think it's that hot. But the new Celtic TV, I'm really enjoying. I haven't had a bad experience with it yet. And it's made it so much easier to catch up with watching the games, and it even just some of the slight tweaks. It's easier for me to stream it to my TV and stuff like that. So, new Celtic TV gets a thumbs up from me.
Have they reduced their prices or increased them?
That's a really good question, and probably shows my lack of understanding about finances.
Money bags. He doesn't look at his bank statement.
Yeah, I get the butler takes care of all of that. I think they're pretty. I think they've gone up. Yeah, what am I? Yeah. Weird for an Australian guy to be saying it, isn't it? got my kangaroo out the back, just with the calculator. No, I'm pretty sure. Kangaroo. I'm pretty sure they're. I think they've gone up slightly. I won't lie, but the experience has been good so far.
Andrew's saying it's too expensive still.
I'm talking quality, not price. I want to make that clear. I don't want to lose the people.
Johnny, you got a Celtic-related one?
I do, right? So my only Celtic hot take was that although I think this team is exceptional and that Leipzig win probably was our best of recent times, I don't know if this is nostalgia, but I still think that the Martin O'Neill team for me is a better Celtic team than this Celtic team.
Fair enough. We'll get a question in before we go to the next one. So McLaughlin's asking the hard questions here. Nicole Kidman in her heyday or Margot Robbie, lads? No messing about. What is it, Shane?
That's a tough question, actually.
I'll go option 3. Al McPherson.
Yeah.
Margot Robbie.
I'm Margot all day as well. Yeah. Although, Nicole is very nice.
Well, I'll complete the hat trick for you. Yep, done. Same. Sorry, but that hair, too much curls.
Yeah.
And yes, Pegleg, this is an educational pod. Didn't you ever know that? Robert Gibson's got a hot take. KFC chips are shit.
Yeah, agreed.
They're not shit. I disagree they're shit. But Macca's fries are superior.
Fair enough. Let's see now.
We can dispute hot takes, right? Come on. Like, this is all disputed out there.
That's the whole point.
I'm like, hang on. Am I not meant to criticize?
This is super niche, right? Now, I don't know if there's anyone who's been to Toowoomba, but there's a place in Toowoomba called Super Rooster. Their chips are the fucking best.
There used to be a place down just in Wollongong across from the entertainment centre and everything, and they were the best I've had. So, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Queensland.
So, we'll go Scottish football related one. So, mine's pretty simple because I already said it on this pod already. Scottish football is a joke as long as we allow clubs with plastic pitches in the professional leagues.
Fair.
Shane?
This is one I had to think long and hard about, and it's about our Glasgow rivals. I think Rangers will sack Clement. I think it'll happen sooner rather than later, and they will get an Australian in, but it won't be the Australian they think or even hope it will be. And I think that they will employ Graham Arnold as the next manager.
Hunt
God.
bastard. Oh, sorry, did I say that on mic? I stand by that. He's a hun bastard. Hate Graham Arnold. He's a prick.
He'll be free. He hasn't taken up a position yet. He's still riding high on the coattails of our World Cup performance, and he'll be attainable. And I think Muscat will turn them down.
Good.
It's funny that you mentioned the other side of Glasgow, because mine was also Rangers based. I think we could, if things don't change, see the switch of Rangers and Aberdeen, who is our next competitor. I think if things are going, we could be seeing Rangers solidified as the third best team.
Can I jump on that, Johnny, for a second? And all I'm going to say is it's not going to be a switch. We're just going to go back to normal. When this incarnation of Rangers was born, the second best team was Aberdeen, and then they weren't there. So they're hitting their level of third best. They had one fluky title. COVID season, you know. Hey, yep. RL77's onto it. It's merger time. We need to get that meme, you know, with the bat signal, but it's got Murdy's face on it. I need to find that.
It's got to be the one where he's upside down, doesn't it? Like the little shadow when he's upside down.
Yeah, of course. And the last one, our anything one, mine is I will die on this hill right now, okay? Salt and vinegar chips are the best flavour of chips, and I'll fight anyone who disagrees with me.
I'm so glad we're not in the same room together right now because cheese and onion all day long.
You disgusting pig. Get off the club.
I can't wait until we catch up at the Celtic club next.
I'll throw you on the stool you're sitting on. I'll just throw both.
I'm a prawn cocktail, man. That's a very British chip to have.
That is. Now, we were talking about butlers before, and then you've gone with prawn cocktail.
No, I'll have you know, it's a very salt of the earth flavour in the UK. Everybody likes a prawn cocktail chip or crisp.
Yeah. Don't lose your card by saying.
Sorry, sorry.
All right, which one wants to go next?
I'll go next. And this is the one I'm most nervous about, because I'm worried that it'll see my Australian citizenship stripped from me. But Foster's is not that bad. It's really not that bad.
Get out.
See what? We're covering the big topics. There's no punches pulled here. Look, genuinely, you can't even get it on tap here. It's actually complete. They've only just started stocking it in cans again. No pub actually has it on tap, and it has such a bad rap here. But I've had it a few times, and it's genuinely not that bad. It's not. I'm not saying it's good. Let me be very clear, but it's drinkable, and I'd happily drink it. So yeah.
Shane, I'm gonna tell you something. The only time I've been able to finish a can of Foster's was when this happened. I had a sip and I was like, "That is trash." Okay, my barbecue needs a clean. Let's tip that on to strip the plates down. That's it. And I felt like I was disrespecting my barbecue. So. No.
Anyway, come at me, Australia.
There you go. Andrew already has. And then Tam's like this. Robert's gone controversial here with this one. Robert, Tunnock's tea cakes are overrated.
Fucking hell. I can't disagree more. Actually, Tunnock's tea cakes are the best. And caramel wafers.
Back to you, Shane. Foster's was the number one lager in the pub I worked in back in Glasgow. Johnny?
All right. This is a British man's cry to Australia. Top sheets are the fucking most pointless thing ever invented. I don't understand what the fucking point of a top sheet is. I hate it. I want it gone. I don't know why we put them on our beds.
Who uses a top sheet? What sort of toff are you, mate?
Everyone in Australia uses a top sheet, and I fucking hate it. I feel
Your
constricted.
butler put that on your bed.
Are you talking about a fitted sheet or what?
No, I'm not an animal, mate. I mean, the fucking thing that goes underneath the duvet that you put on top of your fitted sheet. I hate top sheets, mate.
So you're saying you've got a fitted sheet on the bed, then a top sheet, and then the doona.
Not in my household, but everybody else seems to fucking want one.
Robert's saying no top sheets here, only for wankers. 100%. That's what me and
Agreed.
Shane was shocked.
I
No one
agree.
uses
hang on.
them.
So you got a fitted sheet and then the doona. That's it. You don't have another sheet.
Yes, absolutely,
It's
100%.
100% correct. It's the only
And
way
you
to
go
live.
and you go to any hotel or anybody's else's house, and it's a fitted sheet, a top sheet, and then your doona, and I fucking hate it.
See, now
very
I'm
passionate about
now
it.
I'm very nervous. Much more nervous than the Foster's comment because I very much enjoy a top sheet.
Oh no, mate, I hate them.
Only on a 40-degree day do you take the doona off and then you put a top sheet on so there's something covering you so you don't freeze from the aircon. That's
I like,
it.
what are
And
those,
that's a stretch.
like a weighted blanket, but it's not a weighted blanket. It's like a duvetlet or some stupid shit. Or that's the only
Sorry, Craig. We're having a hot take session here to end the pod, and you've come in at the worst time.
I really want to unpack this. I'm just not sure we've got enough time.
Nah, I think we'll go to our final thoughts, and then we can take this behind the paywall. If you want the other thing, find it on John's OnlyFans or something.
Yeah. Let's
still
behind
got
the
the
paywall
account,
with top sheets and stuff. Yeah, let's just
You still got the account, don't you, Johnny, from Mustache season last year, right? All right. So,
the
final
top sheet
thoughts.
stories. Yeah.
Oh.
Anywho, final thoughts. My one will be pretty simple. I can't wait to finally see Pearl Jam for the first time in my life this weekend. Absolutely buzzing for it. Fuck yeah, bring it on. Can't wait. About bloody time.
Good band.
Shane?
I book related this week, so not music. I'm currently reading a book by a wonderful basketball expert, Botti Naj, who's done an updated biography of Paddy Mills. So Paddy Mills beyond basketball. And look, I'm only part way through it, but the reason I wanted to bring it up is that Paddy Mills is an absolute hero. He's a tremendous person. What he's done on the court is amazing, but what he does off the court for his community and in terms of philanthropy is just simply unmatched. And sometimes we tend to embellish sporting people as heroes for what they do on the park, but I mean it in every sense of the word. Paddy Mills is a hero, a wonderful individual who represents Australia so well. Really enjoying the book so far, and I'm looking forward to finishing it up.
Nice. And Johnny?
So mine's also music related. It's not anytime soon, but I'm just very excited to see Green Day for the first time. I think it's next year. So yeah, should be good.
Will you be on holiday when it happens?
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Stay well.
How